Earth, the blue planet, and it's earned that name. 71% of its surface is covered in water, a resource vital to every living thing on the planet. But despite this abundance, nearly 4,000 people die each day from lack of access to clean water. And this might just be the beginning. Could we be on the verge of a global water crisis unlike anything the world has ever faced? Find out on this episode of Map Pack why the Earth is running out of water. For most people in the West, having access to clean water is such a way of life you probably don't even think about it until it's not. In 2023, the World Resources Institute found that 25 countries, home to a quarter of the world's population, face high water stress year-round. Nearly 4 billion people deal with water shortages for at least 1 month out of the year. And surprisingly, some of these countries aren't the ones you'd expect. Among the most water-stressed countries in the world are the usual suspects: the desert nations like Egypt, Libya, Israel, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. The rest of the Persian Gulf states also rank high on the list, facing extreme challenges due to their naturally arid environments and limited freshwater resources. But the other countries in the red include Greece, India, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Belgium, and Chile. There are a lot more, and some might be a surprise. So we start in the heart of Africa. Based on data from 2020 compiled by the World Health Organization and UNICEF, the country with the lowest percentage of people with access to clean water is Niger, where 54% of people lack access to safe drinking water regularly. Niger is a dry, desert-like country, and one with a heavy farming-based economy. This means a high need for water with low supply, making it one of the poorest countries in the world. Many people only have access to rudimentary water filtration systems, meaning the little water they can get a hold of is often contaminated. Another country in Africa battles troubles both natural and man-made. As the second largest country in Africa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has to take care of the needs of over 100 million people, and it's struggled with infrastructure and lack of funding since its freedom from colonialism. In 2021, around 64% of the country lived in poverty, and its water is infamously unclean but must be used for drinking, cooking, and washing alike. This has led to frequent outbreaks of gastrointestinal issues, which are especially dangerous to children. According to the World Health Organization, 1 million people die every year from diarrhea as a result of unsafe drinking water and sanitation. What makes this even more tragic is that it's preventable. An estimated 395,000 deaths of children under age 5 could be avoided simply by providing access to clean, safe water. Chad, a largely desert nation with a population of over 21 million, faces a severe water crisis. About 54% of its people lack access to even the most basic water services. While roughly half the population has access to clean drinking water, only 1 in 10 has access to improved sanitation. The country is one of Africa's poorest, making building new infrastructure challenging. And the larger a country, the trickier it is to help it reach sustainability. Ethiopia has a population of 135 million, the second highest in Africa after Nigeria, and more than half of its citizens lack access to clean water. The country is heavily divided, with the northern highlands receiving frequent rainfall and the deserts being among the driest places in the world. This has left many rural communities highly isolated and without sufficient drinking water or a clean water supply, and nearly 80% of the country is rural. And the same goes for its neighbors. The Horn of Africa is one of the most challenging regions in the world for water security, and that especially goes for countries with significant social conflict. Eritrea, known for being one of the most authoritarian countries in the world, has almost 48% of its population, around 1.8 million people, lacking access to proper water services. Deforestation and overfarming have led to heavy resource consumption, and many water sources are contaminated with waste products. Somalia has been engaged in a decades-long civil war, making it one of the most dangerous countries in the world to visit. That's led to a host of national crises, including drought, hunger, and mass displacement of over 3 million people. And today, 44% of the people lack access to clean, regular drinking water. This has led to a surge of water-based diseases in the country, and the NGOs that have a presence there have been working to build boreholes and water harvesting dams in the areas they have access to. These countries, along with Uganda, Angola, and Mozambique, are the world's largest crisis points for water shortages. But Africa isn't the only region facing these hardships. In the Asia-Pacific, entire communities are cut off. 55% of the people in Papua New Guinea lack access to clean water. And the challenge here is the nation's unique geographical structure. The country is made up of 600 Asian Pacific islets, and there are many small rural communities that have little interaction with the outside world. That means many of these small villages may lack proper water filtration systems, or even have knowledge of them. Nonprofits work to help update the infrastructure here, but it's complicated by the fact that Papua New Guinea has one of the most tumultuous climates in the world, with cyclones and flooding often washing away what little progress is made. And yet, even countries with enormous populations and advanced infrastructure aren't immune. India is facing the largest water crisis in the world. The country has over 1.4 billion people, the largest population in the world, and it's a tale of two countries. It has massive urban populations in sprawling cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. These cities are highly modern and filled with high-tech workers, but that level of population can be hard for a city's infrastructure to handle. And outside the population centers, the huge country is filled with tens of thousands of small villages, many of which lack modern conveniences and technology due to poverty and location. It's estimated that around 35 million people lack access to clean drinking water. Additionally, 678 million people lack access to a safe toilet, with that group heavily clustered in the rural communities. With a population of this size, it's easy for a crisis to slip under the radar as long as the country is seen as functioning. But it takes a massive human toll. It's believed that as many as 200,000 people each year die from causes related to water contamination or lack of access to clean water. While India has close to 20% of the world's population, it has a shocking lack of fresh water by comparison, only around 4%. The country also suffers through some of the most extreme summers in the world, due to its proximity to the equator. That means that every year in India can be highly unpredictable and can have devastating effects on the local population. According to a study in June of 2019, one of the driest years on record, 65% of reservoirs in India had below average water stores, and 12% of them were completely tapped out. As the country sank deeper into drought, many cities were forced to introduce harsh measures to conserve water. Like in Chennai, where the city of 9 million people was forced to close key hotels, restaurants, and businesses to minimize the impact on the water grid and to keep sufficient supply for residents. The Indian water crisis has led to a larger government and NGO effort than in many other countries to tackle the problem. The focus is on improving infrastructure with techniques including more efficient rainwater harvesting, better water conservation, and improved irrigation for the agricultural sector. Agriculture consists of 80% of the country's water use, so this could make a big difference and possibly save untold lives across the country. The country has already seen significant challenges as a result of the water shortages, with a lack of easily accessible water pumps, especially in rural areas. This situation forces many Indians to purchase their drinking water, an enormous burden for low-income families. In urban areas, poor water quality has led to outbreaks of fever, vomiting, and kidney disease, and the water shortages have even led to delays in medical treatment, as clean water is a necessary part of performing surgeries in a modern hospital setting to prevent infections. The economic toll is staggering. Waterborne diseases cost the country an estimated $600 million each year. The country isn't in one of the worst situations in the world, but its massive population and critical place on the world stage make it a cautionary tale. It's considered the fastest growing world power at the moment, and many international companies are investing very heavily in that. India has the money to invest in water infrastructure, but the sheer scope of the challenge facing them means it'll be a very, big project. But while water shortages might be growing, it's not easy to pin down the cause. Even countries that are used to having a steady supply of fresh water are seeing their reservoirs getting lower and lower, requiring residents to stop watering their lawns. The overall warmer temperatures have led many to call climate change a key player in the crisis, and these conditions also create the perfect conditions for devastating wildfires. But the biggest problem facing the water supply might just be people. The world's population is growing and growing, coming close to 8 billion people, and the demand for water isn't slowing down. Increased urbanization and massive needs for food and water have placed many areas on the brink of water shortages. Cape Town, South Africa learned this the hard way in 2018. An extreme drought, paired with poor water management and soaring demand, created a perfect storm that brought the city dangerously close to day zero, when the taps would run dry. But while Cape Town serves as a warning, some countries have taken a different path, keeping the taps running through sheer financial and technological force. Qatar and the United Arab Emirates have become major players in the global economy, with Qatar hosting a World Cup and the UAE becoming a massive hub for tourism and entertainment. And it all comes down to one thing: oil. That liquid gold turned these tiny countries into global economic powers, despite being built in the middle of the desert. And that money goes a long way. These countries have some of the lowest natural water supplies on the planet, yet through a mix of groundwater extraction and large-scale desalination, they've managed to keep their population supplied. However, there's a trade-off. It's only sustainable as long as they can maintain the system. And water demand doesn't stop there. We're mostly used to having whatever we want when we want it. That includes meat, neatly trimmed and processed and sitting on our shelves, and any produce regardless of the season. This is all due to the miracle of industrialized agriculture, which mass produces produce and raises livestock on massive farms. The key to mass-produced agriculture is irrigation, which keeps the crops suitably moist throughout their growing cycle. The same goes for keeping all those cows, pigs, and chickens suitably hydrated and fed. Much of the corn grown around the world goes right back into the agriculture sector, as it's used to feed livestock. With billions of people to feed globally, agriculture puts an enormous strain on the world's water supply. Around the world, the demand for water is skyrocketing. It's more than doubled since 1960. If a country is using at least 80% of its supply, it's facing extreme water stress. Today, many people look at the state of the water crisis and wonder if we're reaching a tipping point. For most people, the possibility of actually running out of water seems like science fiction. Humanity isn't really running out of water, is it? Some prominent scientists are trying to ring the alarm before it's too late. To the layperson, water actually seems like the one resource we probably don't have to worry about too much. It's one of the few resources that naturally renews itself after all. We have an ample supply of it in lakes, in the glaciers and ice caps, and in the oceans, with proper treatment. And for most of us, it flows freely at all times. Even as the Earth's population grows, most people are focused on other crises. But that might be a lethal mistake. We're surrounded by water, but only a tiny fraction of it is accessible to us. The vast majority of water on Earth is salt water, which requires a costly and energy-intensive process to desalinate, a last resort for those who can afford it. Our drinking water comes from a combination of rivers, lakes, and underground aquifers. In fact, only 3% of the water on Earth is freshwater, and only 1.2% of that is accessible for drinking. The rest is locked in ice, frozen permanently in the north and south of the world. While climate change might leak more fresh water away from glaciers, it's obviously bringing with it a host of other problems, including increased storms that can damage the freshwater supply of countries hit by them. And even if more water entered the environment, that doesn't mean it's drinkable. The water that leaks off of glaciers would typically flow right into the ocean, which means it would immediately become saltwater, useless to us without a desalination plant to do most of the work. This would just be a drop in the bucket of a global problem and permanently damage the environment. But also, just because something is freshwater doesn't mean it's drinkable immediately. Freshwater bodies are also full with life, and that means there are also contaminants. That means no one is safe from a potential water crisis. One hurricane or drought can quickly remind us of just how fragile our ecosystem is. If a country doesn't have the resources needed for desalination or to keep its water filtration infrastructure or pipes in good order, then it could lead to a disaster. But we're surrounded by water. Why wouldn't we have enough? Well, most of that water isn't drinkable. It's salt water. And so, progress has been made in desalination, a process which removes those salty mineral components from salt water. It creates brine along with a good facsimile of fresh water and can be used in small amounts. But there's a big hitch in that plan. Desalination is an energy-intensive process, and it's generally more costly than collecting fresh water. In the United States and other rich countries, we have state-of-the-art filtration systems. Sturdy pipes deliver water to homes, and they're maintained regularly. Well, most of the time. When Flint's water became heavily contaminated in the 2010s, it became national news, and major pressure led to the city being given the money it needed to upgrade its water pipes. But by and large, in these countries, the tap water is safe to drink, even if it might not taste like it sometimes. While there are over 18,000 desalination plants in operation around the world, they only provide a small percentage of the water needed by the world. They're an essential part of the puzzle for supplying struggling countries, especially those with a very small supply of fresh water due to desert locations. But due to the energy they use, it is impossible to duplicate on a global scale. In 2016, these plants consumed 25% of the energy used by the water sector. But while a lack of water is an immediate crisis, there's another water hazard out there. And it may be even deadlier because it's invisible. We drink without even thinking about it most of the time, with the assumption that our water is safe. But that's not the case around the world. Many countries are dealing with a heavily polluted water supply, and this can lead to some serious health issues. It's estimated that contaminated and unsafe water kills more people than war and violent crime combined. And most of these deaths happen far out of the eye of the global media. Polluted water comes from many sources, but one of the biggest issues is untreated wastewater. Roughly 80% of the world's wastewater flows straight back into the environment, seeping into soil and contaminating water supplies. And the crisis is only going to get worse. We've seen India and the Middle East already hit a crisis point, but one of the world's biggest economies, China, might be in dire straits as well. Information about China's water issues is kept more tightly to the chest due to the government's secretive nature, but studies by nonprofits indicate the massive nation, which has over 1 billion people and a massive agricultural sector, has a grave problem. Up to a quarter of its residents lack access to proper water sanitation, especially in urban areas. China's land use is heavily industrialized, and it's believed much of the water pollution comes from pesticides and livestock waste. And all this could be coming together into one of the biggest crises the world has ever seen. Are we truly on the brink of the water wars? If you ask geopolitical pundits, the answer might be yes. When a country lacks one of the essentials of life, it's common for them to do anything they need to do in order to get it. Water access has been a tipping point for war through history, both access to fresh water and access points to the sea for safe travel. And these conflicts date back, not centuries, but millennia. The first recorded water war was around 2400 BCE between two ancient Sumerian states over who got to irrigate water from the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Today, the most common theater for water conflict is the Mekong Basin, which borders China and several other nations like Vietnam Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Thailand. China has aggressively built dams along the Mekong River, giving it significant control over the flow of the river. This, similar to China's moves in the South China Sea, has raised tension in the region. And one water conflict might just turn nuclear. India and Pakistan used to be one territory, both occupied by the British. But after gaining independence, it soon became clear that they would have to split, with one country being majority Hindu and one being majority Muslim. And since they became neighbors, they've been engaged in a dispute over the Indus River and its tributaries. Skirmishes eventually led to the signing of a peace treaty over the river in 1960. But as tensions between the countries continue to simmer, there have been multiple conflicts, and India threatened to cut off water to Pakistan in 2019. As both countries have powerful armies and a nuclear arsenal, geopolitical analysts take this crisis very seriously. But this may just be the start of the coming crisis. Over the last few decades, more analysts have said that the future of conflict may not be land, but water. In 1985, United Nations Secretary General Boutros Boutros-Ghali said that the next Middle East war would come over water. And while that hasn't come to be yet, a water crisis in Iran could change that very quickly, and a water conflict could cause cascading effects. Countries without clean water might find themselves seeing skyrocketing medical costs as people die from preventable illnesses and conditions. It can also impact the food supply. Not only could growing food with contaminated water taint the food supply, but the little available drinking water might be used up by the agricultural sector without it being known how critical it was. And a desperate country is an unpredictable country, which increases the chance of war. After all, a country without water has nothing to lose. Water has become an increasingly critical issue in the environmental movement, with NGOs working to create new wells, provide training in proper sanitation and hygiene, repair tainted pipes that might contain lead, and improve filtration equipment. But these groups can only do so much, especially when they don't have the cooperation of the government they're working with. And that's why it's time to join Team Water. Every child who never grows to adulthood is potentially a lost world changer. And many people are saying enough. This is a problem that can be solved. Team Water's goal is to raise $40 million to bring clean drinking water to 2 million people around the globe. This isn't just a short-term fix, it's a long-term solution. Just $1 can give someone clean water for a year. That means one donation can save lives for decades. For many communities, it's not the water that's missing, it's the opportunity. A little funding for sustainable infrastructure could be the difference between daily struggle and lasting progress. When clean water arrives, health improves, economies grow, and futures brighten. This is ultimately the mission of Team Water, not only to deliver clean drinking water to those in need, but to help educate and promote smarter water management across communities. Together, we can make sure everyone has access to this essential resource and help humanity take better care of the lifeblood of our planet. If you want to be part of the solution, head on over to teamwater.org and donate, or share this video with your friends and family, because water isn't just a resource, it's a right. Visit teamwater.org to join Team Water. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to see more videos like this, then please consider subscribing and turn on notifications. It really does make a difference. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on MatPack.